Oh, yeah. You bet. Oh, you do have to journal. Oh, I was going to say when we hit lab, we can join with them. So, all right. I sat on my favorite glasses. I hope they're not broke. Oh yeah, we talked about that. No, that's past. Oh, she does. It is April Fool's Day. So Monday at work, they announced our boss leaving, and somebody towards the end of the day said, "I totally expected an April Fool's joke today for them to come in and go, no, just kidding." But no, didn't happen. No, I'm fine. Okay, so first of all, isn't that color thing really pretty? I just open it up and look at it and go, I just love those colors. If I hadn't cleaned up my painting table, I would try to paint it. But yeah, yeah. Okay, so first question: did anybody have self management on their top of the list improvement item? Yeah. Did anybody who had self awareness at the top of their list? Well, self management is right next to it. Because if you're not aware, it's hard to improve. Yeah. Okay. So, kind of like Rachel did, the book has it just lists a bunch of things, and I began to categorize them and kind of put them into areas, and I ended up with. That's not the way it was supposed to. It's supposed to go one thing at a time, but that's fine. It's probably because I didn't. Anyway, did you back it up? Okay, do one click. Will it let me do it? But it brings the whole thing. That's okay. Well, that's fine. So the first is the immediate, which is when the immediate is all about your limbic system and getting your emotions, getting that first rush of immediate reaction managed so that you can then go to the short term, which is, okay, now that I've got my emotions under control, now I can begin to think. Because if you remember from the truth conversation, when your limbic system kicks in, your prefrontal cortex, which is where you think and reason, it can't engage. So immediate is all about that. Short term is where you begin to think, and then response when you go, okay, now I'm responding. And then there's a whole set of proactive things that you can do, that practices that you can put into place that help all three of those. Hang on. There's an extra mic.
What's kind of cool about this is the immediate. So I use cognitive behavioral therapy because it's proven for a lot of things, and it's basically our thoughts, feelings, and actions are connected. So the immediate would be like your thoughts. So when something happens, you have an event, and then the immediate happens, which is your thought, which is the short. Then it goes into the short term, which is your feelings and emotions. I'm just processing this out loud because I could be wrong. And then the response would be the action. Does that sound
right?
So it's basically the CBT model. It's just different language.
Oh, well, cool.
Right?
See, I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's just me making connections, but I'm a verbal processor. So I was just making sure I was thinking of that correctly.
Yeah. No, that's exactly kind of the way I was thinking about it. So we're going to hit first on, I'm sitting here doing it on my computer and that won't work. There we go. Because they're not connected. Okay, so we're going to talk about the immediate first. So as she said, this is, you're in a situation and you feel, you said the first was feel, right? Or no, first is think. First is your thoughts. Right. Right. Yeah. But this is when you want to avoid being hijacked. Does anybody know what I mean by being hijacked? Hijacked is when your emotions take over and you're not thinking. And so your immediate response is really your objective to manage that and to get your cortisol levels down and be able to rationally go, okay, I know what's going on here. Some of the verses I found, Galatians 5:22-23. This one's going to come up a couple times tonight. But the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. So a lot of this is about self-control. What it's not is ignoring or stuffing it down. Some of the methods the book talked about are breathing. My kids will tell you they were raised hearing, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. And don't hyperventilate, but take a deep breath. Counting, taking a quick walk. When we were going through counseling, that was one of the things the counselor talked to us about is taking a time out. If we were, as a family, getting to an emotional state, she goes, you need to be able to recognize that. And it was kind of a symbol. We go, okay, we need a timeout. Somebody needs to go for a walk. Smile. If you feel, and this is where self-awareness comes in, I think you have to learn what emotion or what's going on, but smiling can make a huge difference. It's hard to smile and be angry at the same time. It's really hard to smile and be sad. One of the other things I talked about is body language. If you, for example, you find yourself clenching your fists, relax your fists. Or if you find yourself doing this, it's synchronize your body language with what you want. Don't allow your body language to drive your emotions, kind of. Does that make sense? But understand your body language and speak Jesus. I mean, we all know Jesus, if you're in a meeting at work and you start hearing somebody go, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I might do that one day at work this week. So those are the immediate. So the immediate is kind of the containment phase. So then we get into the short term. So this is when you are providing yourself an opportunity to choose your response. You have avoided being hijacked. It's Galatians again, but it's also Proverbs 14:17. Short-tempered people do foolish things, and schemers are hated. So learning to extend that temper, it's really just getting that limbic in control. Hang on. I'm on the wrong page on mine. Okay, different ones. Sorry about that. Okay, short term. Provide an opportunity for your mind and body to prepare for a response. Different verse. James 1:19. Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. And then Philippians 4:6 and 7. Do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done, then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. So short term, what it's not, considering how to prove somebody wrong, commiserating, and it's not worry and fear. Some of the approaches and methods it talks about in the book, pray first. Actually, the book didn't talk about pray first, but that I think is always a good guide. Defer, meaning the best example of this I can think of is as we were having challenges with William as he was growing up. You know, when they're really young, it's important that discipline is pretty close to the action, right? Because they're young and you can't, you know, if they do something, you wait 2 days to correct them, they're not going to connect it. But as they get older, the counselor would say, you don't have to make a decision. It's okay to wait. You know, it's okay to allow yourself to calm down before you say, okay, here's your consequences. But you can defer. You just don't sweep it under the rug and not come back to it, because that's kind of easy. Sleep on it. Some people can't sleep on it. I can sleep on anything because that's how I avoid things, but sleep on it. So take some time in the short term. Again, take a walk. Physical activity is huge. It's just big. Take a walk. Positive self-talk. So if you're in a situation and the thoughts and emotions are causing you to doubt yourself or go into negative thoughts, turn that around and start talking, using positive self-talk. And then practice empathy and consider the source. And what I mean by this is sometimes if you get a message from someone and it triggers your emotions, if you pause, if you've done the immediate things and you pause and then it's one of our social covenants, always consider that the best of people. They're not always aiming at you. Sometimes you just have to consider the source. My mom told me that all the time growing up. She goes, just consider the source. Don't allow yourself to be abused, but it's just think the best of people all the time. So that's short term. So your response. Okay, this is where you get to choose your response to the event or the emotion or whatever it is. Philippians 4, 6, and 7 again. Proverbs 15:1, which is, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. Honey words, not vinegar words. That's what I used to tell my kids. And so if you've done the immediate and you've calmed yourself down and you've given yourself that time to prepare your answer, then you can go into your response with better words, considering the other person, having prayed, having allowed the Holy Spirit to step in. What it's not, vengeance. It's not proving fault. It's not self-provision. In other words, self-protection and self-provision. It's not proving right versus wrong. It's responding, not reacting. Approaches and methods. Pray first. Self-reflection. I think this is a really important one because understanding what triggered your emotion allows you to understand a little bit better how to respond. Sometimes when you really when you pause and you think about what triggered it, sometimes you're actually able to go, oh, you know what? It's not what happened. It's me. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. I did that last Monday and had to apologize. I'm like, okay, I might not be in a good mood today. I'm sorry. I kind of jumped the gun there. So really self-reflecting. This is where self-awareness really comes in. Evaluate. Fact versus perception or emotion versus response. The book talked about this and creating a sheet of paper. This is really, to me, this is a really good exercise, particularly if you have time. If you run into something and you're caught up in your emotions and you're stewing on it and you're just, oh, I just don't understand, take some time and write down and go, okay, what are the facts about the situation? What do I know? And what might be the way I'm perceiving the situation? And sometimes you can see those two lists and go, okay, I'm perceiving this. Is it true? Or is there something in me that's triggering myself to see it a certain way? But the facts versus perception and emotion versus reason, it's kind of the same thing. Speak to an uninvested party. Keyword there, uninvested. You want, there was a word that a guy used to use. I cannot remember it. I've tried for 3 days to remember it, but it was a complicated word and I could never say it right. That's why I remember it. But it's find someone who is not going to be on your side or their side, but someone who can, somebody who's neutral, who can see it from both sides easily. That's kind of hard to do sometimes because you want to go to the people who will see your side of it. You want to go, you'll get it. Let me go tell you about this. But that's just gonna feed into the facts versus perception and push on the wrong side of perception. Again, self-talk and visualization and practice. So if you need to respond to somebody and it was an emotional event, visualize the response. Actually, and I've done this. I've had conversations in my car with myself when my kids go, "What, Mom?" And I go, "Oh, sorry, that was me and somebody that's not in the car." But practicing those conversations so that you're prepared, and particularly practice them expecting maybe some responses you don't want, so that you can be ready to react. They've found out that when you practice something mentally, the brain doesn't know the difference between actually doing it or thinking about doing it. I read a story about a man he was a prisoner of war, and one of the things he did to survive was he visualized playing golf every day. When he finally got out, and he was like a prisoner for 7 or 8 years, when he finally got out and he went and played golf, he shot like a 68. And he hadn't played in 7 or 8 years, but in his mind, he had played every day. So visualization is huge. Okay, so that's response. And then proactive. This is where you build your muscles. So, hang on, I just deleted a page instead of. So if you were going to become successful at golf or at baseball or at music, you would not be able to do it without practice. You can't just step in there and all of a sudden you're great at it. So this is where you do things that help you get better at choosing your response. So some of the verses there, we've read some of them. James 1, 2, and 4. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. So we know that comfort and growth don't coexist. Was it you that? No, it's somebody else that said that. You said that. Yeah. 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 Yep. Yeah. It hurts, but it's necessary. What proactive is not is building up strongholds. It's not getting bitter. It's not holding on to those offenses. It's not cultivating fear. It's not consistently sweeping things under the rug. It's facing it. It's not sitting in worry. So it's facing the issue and being willing to practice those things that are going to make you grow. So some of the methods are develop your fruits, and by fruits that means fruits of the Spirit. So peace, patience, kindness, love, joy. I know I didn't say those in order, but share your goals, make them public. So find somebody, we talked a couple weeks ago about finding an accountability partner as we work through these emotional intelligence items. Find someone that you can share your goals with and make them public. And when we talked about Atomic Habits, it also talked about sharing your goals and making them public. There's an accountability there that is big. Talk with someone who's skilled. So if you've been around somebody who seems to really be able to manage their emotions and respond, get a hold of them and say, hey, can we go to lunch? Talk to me, and you get a mentor, somebody who is skilled at that. Smile and laugh more. Visualize success. So again, this is just like the other one, which was in response. Even when you're not, I think this is tricky. Even when you're not in a situation, practice visualizing the situations that are tough. One of the challenges we had as we went through some counseling is we always went when there was an urgent need. Something happened and we got to go to counseling. Well, we'd go for 2 or 3 weeks and you'd get these, okay, well, when this happens, do this. Well, then it wouldn't happen for a year, and everything goes fine. And then all of a sudden a year goes by and you're like, wait, what were we supposed to do? So practice, visualize success. Sleep. Sleep is big. Lack of sleep impacts your ability to deal with so many things. Emotions, pain. If you see people who are my husband had a lot of back pain for a while and he didn't sleep. When he could get sleep, he could deal with the pain. Not that it didn't hurt, but I should say when he did not get sleep, dealing with the pain was super hard. Whether that's emotional pain, physical pain, sleep is just really important. Focus on your freedoms as opposed to your limitations. This is a little bit like focusing on the solution instead of the problems. Have a learning mindset. And so this is every situation you're in, look at it as another opportunity to learn and grow. Rachel talked about journaling last week. Huge. So when you reflect back over a situation that happened, use it as a learning mindset. Like we were at lunch Sunday and we were talking about me and my boss, and my husband made a comment and I went, oh. He said, I've always complained about my bosses. And I went, maybe I have always complained about my bosses. Maybe he's right. So have a learning mindset. Schedule mental recharge and be intentional. So this is scheduling the walks, scheduling some time to decompress, scheduling some time where you're not thinking about things, just that relaxation time. And then realize that change will happen. In other words, don't have the false sense that you're never going to have to do any of these things. Or if you're going to be hit with these emotional situations, they're always going to come up. And it said, just realize that change is inevitable. It's around the corner. And so if you're doing these proactive things and building your muscles, then you'll be better poised to handle it when it comes. And then self-awareness, again, is key. And I think reflection and journaling is big with that, because you've got to be able to look back at what happened, and that's going to help you identify what was the emotion, what was the trigger, and did I do some of these things? How did I respond? How did I take it? You have to be able to look back. I call it game filming too. It's being able to look back and say, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And what can I do next time? I used to cry really easy. For some reason, I don't cry anymore. Maybe it's all the years of doing it. But when my emotions would hit, that was what came up, but it just doesn't happen anymore. So that really summarizes what came out of the book. I want to share with y'all, speaking of proactive, I put together this video a few years ago for work. I had read a book called Burnout, and it was really about dealing with stress. And so I created this little video to do at work. It was called The More You Know. It's like less than 5 minutes, just share something with the company. So I'm going to share that with y'all. So I'll let Yvette switch over to that one. It might take a second. It's only about 3 minutes. Maybe. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about stress. So what is stress anyway? Stress is your body's response to anything that requires attention or action. Now, did you notice that? It is your body's response. Let's take an example that we're probably all familiar with. Let's say that you are taking a walk in the woods and you come upon a bear. Your physical response to this stress will be fight, flight, or freeze. Your physical responses to stress involve an increased heart rate. Cortisol goes up. Your body goes into survival mode. We tend to think of these responses really only in the context of severe situations like a bear. But your body doesn't care about the source of the stress. Now imagine that your body is never able to escape from this elevated sense of survival. This is why chronic stress can actually be more damaging to us than the actual stressor, unless, of course, you actually do come upon a bear in the woods. Now, most of us are not dealing with lions, tigers, and bears on a daily basis, but we are dealing with traffic and work, finances, relationships. So if you're human, you're probably dealing with stress. Now, in order for our bodies to come out of this elevated mode, we need to be able to signal to the body that the stressor is gone, that we can relax and let our body come out of that survival mode. Remember, this is physical. So how do we do that? Well, there are some scientifically proven methods to tell the body that the stressor is gone and you can relax. Number one, physical activity. The most proven effective method. Slow, deep breathing. I actually do this a lot. It does not have to be a 20-minute meditation. Positive social interaction. More than just conversing with your friends, which is helpful, this can actually be any interaction with a clerk at the grocery store, or possibly even with your dentist. Laughter. Not just giggles, but true deep belly laughing. Physical affection. For example, a 20-second hug, a 6-second kiss, not recommended at work, even affection with your pets. A good cry. Speaking from personal experience, this can be very effective. Creative expression. Create art, make music, dance. Double dose with dance, physical activity, and creative expression. So, how do we know that we've completed the stress response? Well, it's not simply a decision because remember, our fight, flight, or freeze, it's physiological. You know you've completed it when you physically feel different, even if it's just a little. Unresolved stress will reduce your life expectancy. Learning to complete the stress cycle can help reverse that. Now, if you found this interesting, there is more. I pulled much of this from a book called Burnout, although what we've shared really isn't proprietary to the book. It goes into additional factors creating stress and what we can do beyond just completing the stress cycle. If there's enough interest, I am more than willing to do a lunch and learn. So if you'd like to learn more, just let me know. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's software and you get I use the free version and you get so many images, but if you pay, you get lots of more images. But it's tricky because you have to record the voice. You have to time it, and it's tricky. So, okay, so let's take a quick break, and then we'll do. I still think we'll get out early, but I have a little lab, maybe 20 minutes worth. So take 5 or 10 minutes. Let's be back at 7:03. Let's be back at 7:10, and then we'll do the lab, and maybe we can get out a good bit early.